I have 31,000 miles on these Falken WILDPEAK, so I think it's time for a long-term review. Let's start with the specs. These are 285/70 R17 tires. They've been holding up really well. These are also 6-ply tires. Let's hop into the performance and how they've held up over these 31,000 miles. Now, looking how these held up over 30,000 miles, to say it bluntly, guys, these have held up amazing. So I do have no affiliation with Falken, but if Falken sees this and wants to work with me, hey, that'd be pretty cool. Looking at the performance over these 30,000 miles, these tires have held up great. I've used them in snow, dirt, mud, sand, you name it. They've seen about every condition that you can expect to hit with these tires. To put it in perspective how much I ended up trusting these tires, I ended up living out of this truck behind me for 7 months. During that 7 months, I've rocked the same set of tires that you guys see on there right now. And I didn't carry a spare tire with me at all. I still have the stock tire that comes on the Tacoma. Now, saying that out loud seems extremely sketchy and a bad idea, but I did it because I trusted these tires. I've had no leaks, no holes in the tires. They're very strong. On the rocks, I didn't end up damaging the tires at all, so I just ended up trusting them and never really thinking about it. Now, putting the praise aside, let's talk about purely performance on different terrain. The highway and the road performance has been better than I ever could have expected. On the highway, even with 6-ply tires, I don't have any issues with the sidewall giving away. So I was a little bit nervous when I initially started designing my truck and building it the way it is now, that the extra weight would cause some issues when going around corners and that sidewall kind of giving out and giving you a squishy ride. I drive around with about 35 to 39 pounds of pressure in these tires, and I don't have any issues when I'm going around corners with a squishy sidewall. That was really impressive to me because I ended up taking the sway bar off of this truck here. And I've been driving around with no sway bar on this truck for a few months now, and I still don't have any issues. Now, I will say I do have a nice suspension setup on here. I got the Dobinson's MRRs where I'm able to tune that up and kind of compensate for not having a sway bar. But looking at the tires, even with this extra weight, I'm not getting a squishy drive around the corners, which is great because I do spend a good bit of time driving like a normal vehicle on the road. Onto the gas mileage here, I've been pretty impressed as well, believe it or not. So as you can tell, this truck is pretty built and there's a lot of weight on it. The gas mileage isn't that great. I mean, look at it. It's about as aerodynamic as a cow. But when traveling in this truck, I was able to average about 12 miles per gallon on the highway. That's about 75 to 80 miles per hour. Then on the main roads, meaning I'm doing about 45 to 60 on these back roads and normal roads, I actually get closer to 15, about 14.6, and that's on average. So like right now, I'm not doing any crazy overlanding. I'm just driving this truck back and forth from the gym, and I'm getting about 15, and I'm turning on 4-wheel drive to get up my driveway because it is pretty snowy. So I turn on 4-wheel drive to get up and down my driveway. I kind of turn it on every now and then when I'm on a back road. So that does lower the number down a little bit, but it's still performing really well on the gas mileage side. I will say, guys, this is a manual transmission, so if you have an automatic, expect variation. I'm pretty sure from what I can tell from other people, the automatics get a little bit less gas mileage when you have them built up like this. Now, keeping with the road performance, because you're going to spend most of the time on the road, looking at the rain and water, I've had no issues with rain or water when driving this. Like I said, I lived out of this truck for 7 months, so I put a good bit of miles on in that 7 months. I've driven through some heavy rain, hit some big puddles going pretty fast. I had no issues with hydroplaning, so the tread setup on these tires has been great. Looking at the sand performance here, I spent a lot of time down on the beaches at Outer Banks where I drive my truck out on the beach. So I end up airing down to about 15 pounds when we do this. We camp out on the beach. It's a good time. We put some miles on at the beach. Whole time, I never had any issues with thinking about getting stuck at all. The truck just went through the sand just like it would go through anything else. So honestly, again, the performance there, better than expected. I know some people get on forums or Facebook posts and ask people about how to get their truck set up in the sand. Dude, these tires, all you gotta do is air down a little bit and hit the sand. You don't have to worry about anything. I never had any issue with driving through the sand. I actually had to drive through a big wave when it was coming up in between a house and the beach, and I drove through the water, and again, no issue. I mean, the water came up to about right here when I drove through it, and it was pretty intense, and the wave ended up hitting the side of the truck and stuff, but again, no issues with driving through sand at all. Now onto the off-road and overland performance. As you guys can expect from this whole video, they performed great. I've driven through rocky surfaces, through water crossings, in a little bit of mud, and on 4 service roads, and all I do is air down a little bit if I think the ride's a little bit uncomfortable, but I never had any issues with bands breaking in the tires or anything like that, even with driving around with a little bit more air pressure in my tires, because I'm kind of lazy about airing down, I'm not gonna lie to you. So I'd only air down about 20 pounds, if that. Usually I would just not do it because we ended up moving the spot the next day. I would usually just keep it on the same air pressure I had when I was driving on the road. I had no issues with my bands breaking at all and performed great. Now onto the mud performance. I honestly can't speak on this very much because I kind of stay away from mud. Now if I have to go through some mud to get to a location, I'll go through it, no issue with that. But I don't purposely go ahead and put my truck in a deep mud because I honestly don't like dealing with the mud. I hate cleaning it. And with us living out of the truck like we were, trying to live out of this and, you know, cook, clean, and do all the house stuff that you would do out of a truck if you're living out of it, very annoying when the truck's covered in mud. Now onto the snow and ice performance, guys. I think the best way to show you the performance is actually put it to use here. So I'm gonna drive up my icy driveway, but before I do that, I wanna show you guys what the tread looks like down here to show you how much tread I got left, to put it in perspective about how it still eats through the snow and ice. So as you can see here, there's a Falken WILDPEAK AT3W 6-ply. And that's what the tread looks like after 31,000 miles. As you can see from right there, we're just down through the first wear mark and going through the second one right there. So we still got some good tread left there, but definitely not as much as when we first bought these. I'm gonna take you guys on the walk down the driveway here. This is a typical driveway, guys. It's basically a trail that's a 1/4 mile long. Let's go for a walk. As you guys can see here, I do have my boots on, just so you know that I'm not in like tennis shoes or something. This is where the truck usually drives on. Very slippery. I'm going to show you guys the hill in action. So. Very slippery. All right, so the first little test here, we'll do downhill. I'm going to do a braking test. So I'm going to get up the speed a little bit here, about 10. I'm going to hit the brakes. We're stopped. It is slick though. On the way up here, you can see how steep this driveway is. Much better now. I should have put my seatbelt on, I'm sorry. Sorry neighbors for filming, but driveway does get very steep right here. Like I said, it's basically like a trail. And we're going right up, no issues. Doing about 10 right now. Up we go, no problem. It just eats. I guess you guys probably could have expected that because, you know, this is my driveway. It'd be probably pretty bad if I couldn't make it up my driveway. And yeah, very slippery, but Falken WILDPEAK just eat it right up. Well, as you guys can see, the Falken WILDPEAK went right up my driveway, no issues, even down to the second wear mark on the tires. It's a Toyota and it's my driveway. If I couldn't make it up my driveway in this truck, we'd have some serious problems. But I will say I'm very impressed with these tires and how they perform. Living up in PA, I have had this truck in a few winters now, and I have never gotten stuck in this truck, even without the locking diff. So let that speak to you guys on the performance of these tires. Well, there's my 31,000 mile review of these Falken WILDPEAKs. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Honestly, this will be the only tires that I buy for any vehicle I have, may that be a Subaru, another Toyota. I ended up liking these so much that I was talking to my dad about them, and he bought a set for himself as well, and he loves them too. The road noise is very quiet too. I didn't mention that, but just driving on the road, they're very quiet. Compared to some vehicles I've driven with BF Goodriches on them, they're very loud. And I don't know if that's just a BF Goodrich thing or just the Falken WILDPEAKs are just quieter, but these Falken WILDPEAKs are really quiet on the road, and I was really impressed because the amount of tread that are on these tires, they look very aggressive, but brand new, they're just as quiet as they are now as they were then. So very happy about that. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Please hit the like button, hit the subscribe button. I hope it gave you some insight on buying tires. These are going to be my forever tires. I found the brand that I enjoy, so I'm going to be sticking with these guys forever. So Falken, if you see this video, hey, help me out, man. I'm going to need a new set of tires eventually. Maybe we'll do some 35s. Maybe. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Do me a big favor. Check this video out right here. It's pretty good, and I'll see you in the next one.